I'm with Tara Love Perry, and we're having sage tea. And I'm asking Tara, who's just published her book, I Love You, Me, which I hear from a friend of mine is an excellent book. Tara, do tell me about your background, your upbringing.
Okay, so way back in 1971, my parents ran away from Belfast together, a Catholic and a Protestant, to escape the Troubles.
Did they go to Gretna Green?
No, they didn't. They didn't get married there.
So they were Irish?
My dad was Scottish, but lived in Belfast. My mum was Belfast. And there was a lot of troubles, and they both felt like black sheep of the family. They wanted a different life. My dad was a spiritual seeker, even way back then, looking for the truth, looking for something else. And so they ran away to London and discovered in 1971 a 13-year-old guru called Guru. He was named Guru Maharaji. His real name is Prem Revat, but he was known as the Guru Maharaji. Oh, I know who you're talking about, Prem Revat.
Yes, I know all about him.
Right, so they discovered him when he first came to London, 1971.
As a boy?
As a boy, first time he'd ever left India.
I know all about him, yes.
So it was his mother that named me Tara.
Yes.
And they helped build the first ashram for Maharaji to come and live in, so that he had a place to live, because after he was in London, he had a lot of people coming to see him.
So your parents are Premies?
They are Premies.
Oh, yeah. I've met a lot of Premies.
I bet you have in this town.
I have, yes.
I bet you have.
The key and everything, yes.
Oh,
are you a Premie as well?
I received the Techniques of Knowledge when I was 23 from Maharaji.
Okay, all right.
And it's been amazing. He's such an incredibly...
He's in California, isn't he?
He's something, like, to me, he's the real deal. He's a genuine master. He's a
wonderful public speaker.
He's beautiful. He's just... Yeah. See, when I was growing up, my mum and dad would take me to see him, and the kids would want to, play in the kids area. And even from this age, I would be like, take me in to see Maharaji. I wanted to be in his presence, because in his presence, I mean, even though you can't see him from this, he's a tiny little dot on the stage. I just felt good. I felt in peace, and I felt like I was in truth.
Have you met him personally?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like I was in truth. So,
are you still in touch with him?
No. So I don't know him personally. Now there's many hundreds of people.
Yeah.
But anyway, he went off to America. He started traveling. My mum and dad built an ashram. My dad was a decorator. He was an amazing artist, my dad. So he was actually decorating Maharaji's bedroom, and they would have personal interaction with him.
Name?
Jim Perry. Where they go way back. So this is in London. And so I was conceived whilst they were building this ashram. And of course, my mum and dad didn't think that they were going to have babies and get married. They wanted nothing to do with normal system, normal society. They were kind of anti everything. Yeah. But then they got pregnant with me. And another thing happened whilst they were, I think they'd gone to an event, they'd gone to see Maharaji or were coming back, and they were in a van full of loads of premies, all quite high and, in a blissed out state. And something happened where the van ended up crashing and tipping on its side. And my mum was sitting in the back with a bunch of other people, and she was 3.5 months pregnant with me. She was thrown out the back of the van, bounced on her head twice and landed in the curb, and then was taken to hospital. And they said, she was like, how's the baby? And they said, well, what baby? And they were looking for the pulse, as you do, with a little audio scanner thing. What's it called? And they said, well, if you were pregnant, you're not now. So she checked herself out, went to her normal hospital a day or two later, and they checked and said, we're sorry, there's no heartbeat, there's no pulse, there's nothing there. So anyway, that was a bit unusual. 11 months later, not 11 months, but 11 months total, I was in utero and I was born.
You were a miracle baby.
2 months late, because I'd been technically dead for almost 2 months.
Wow.
And then... obviously, I wasn't dead. I was just chilling somewhere. I just...
you were in the ethos.
I actually really have... I've had recollected memories of that time, and it's been a thing to kind of heal and go,
You've been reborn.
Get myself in this body and be on this planet, because it was something I massively resisted.
Prem Revat took you somewhere else.
Who knows?
Isn't that interesting?
Who knows? But anyway, so I grew up in this, surrounded by premies, surrounded by these people talking truth, knowledge, love, lots of satsang, if you know what satsang is, where everyone's coming around our house every week for most of my childhood. And I loved it.
You were a love child.
I was a love child. But there was this huge gap, you see, because there was this bubble I grew up in, and it was all love and light. But actually, inside of that community, there was a lot of other shit going on that wasn't all love and light. It wasn't all truth, because it was the 70s, it was the 80s, you know. It was a
free love
community,
and all that.
a spiritual community.
You were living in a community,
No, it
were
wasn't.
you?
I won't say it was like an urban community. So we were all in the similar towns, in Medway towns I grew up in Gillian.
Right.
So that whole area, there was a big community of people. We were very close. We did a lot of things together. I grew up, you know, all those kids I grew up with. We were like a big family, and it was very destructive, because things happened between couples that they didn't like, and it tore the community apart, basically. So we moved to Wales. My mum and dad opened a healing centre. That was early 80s.
North or south? Or...
Right in the middle of Wales.
Right,
We relocated, bought a house, and we had a healing centre running from our house. And this was like the 80s. It was way back. So my mum was a homeopath. My dad was, he was doing spinal
I could
touch.
just see Luna really getting on with your dad.
Yeah, so can I. I know they will. And my mum, they'd all get on like a house on
What's
fire.
your mother's name?
Abby.
Abby.
So,
Abby Perry?
Abby Perry, yeah.
Yes,
She's still
yes.
Abby Perry now.
Okay.
She's a writer as well. She's always been a writer.
Oh, wow. Where does she live?
She lives in Peacehaven.
So
They're very close.
I could meet her. She's
You definitely could meet her.
That would be lovely. I'd
She
be
used to go
delighted.
to writing groups and stuff, but I think she stopped her local one in Rottingdean because she moved and she doesn't go anymore. But she loves writing. She's writing she writes short stories, quite funny.
So do I.
Quite funny ones.
Oh, I'd love to meet her.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. So anyway, she's not like that anymore. She went born again Christian a number of years ago. So she's got different, views now.
Yeah.
But anyway, my mum and dad were devotees of Maraji for 30 years. I grew up in a healing centre. I was learning about essential oils and crystals and reading tarot from like 13, 14 years old.
Okay, got you.
Grew up vegetarian, grew up doing yoga, meditation, and that was my normal. So everything outside of that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
And integrating into the not normal was incredibly hard.
Yes.
So I ended up just joining in with my mum and dad and used to get stoned. I used to smoke a lot of dope from the age of about 14.
You haven't written about any of this?
It's in a book and it's coming.
Oh, you're writing a book?
Yeah, I started writing a book about my upbringing because
yes.
as well what happened with me, I was always super sensitive. And I actually got ill from the age of 14 and the sensitivity kind of just increased and increased. And my immune system was getting lower and I was getting more and more out of my body. And
are you psychic as well?
Yeah, this is what happened. So I'm picking up all this stuff, not realising how massively intuitive and psychic I am.
You're sensitive.
There's no one to validate me.
Yeah,
I'm empathic, like off the scale empathy, and can see things, hear things. And I'm seeing all this stuff as I'm growing up. And when you're a teenager, you have like growth spurts and they'll have a growth spurt over here and then you'll have a growth spurt over there and everything's a bit gawky and awkward. Well, my sort of psychic and spiritual growth was like that. Suddenly, I'd be seeing random crazy things like, of one aspect and then something else would be happening the next minute and I didn't know what was going on.
Could you predict things?
I would just say to people things that they'd done or things that they were thinking or things that had happened to them. Wasn't so much predicting. Right. I have had prediction dreams every now and again. Right. And if I start looking into it, I could tell you about it. But that's more now. Because then I didn't know what was going on. It was like putting me in a charge of a car without driving lessons.
Do you do tarot?
No, I used to. And
read the cards and psychometry?
I don't read anything anymore.
Okay.
I call it soul reading.
Okay.
I don't have a tool.
Right.
I just read a person's energy because what happened was...
Can you see auras?
Yes, if I want to. It's all of these things I tune in and tune out.
Right.
But I didn't know how to tune out before.
Right.
And I didn't know what was happening. I didn't have the validation. But my mum and I used to make energy balls and pass them between us and change the colour and stuff when I was a teenager. Like, this is how it was. And then years later, I've got 2 little babies. I find myself to be a single parent. I'm like, how on earth did this happen? Absolutely broke. And a man comes into my life who's an old friend of my mum and dad's. And we start hanging out and he's like, Tara, there's something about you. See if you, he said, put your hands on my energy field. It sounds a bit dodgy.
Yeah.
But he said, put your hands on my energy field and tell me what you can feel. So I'd kept my mouth shut for a long time. I stopped telling people.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you here and continue in part 2.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Tara. Unexpected pleasure.